In today's topic, introductory is the topic production. We are going to start with understanding what production is. So production is the provision of goods and services to satisfy human needs and wants. So we have to put down this definition. It's very important. So let us write it down, then we expand upon it. So the definition of production, tirikuti, production is the provision of goods and services to satisfy human needs and wants. So if you are writing notes, it's important to put down this definition. The color coding of this lesson, zvatichange tichinyora in the color white, ndozvinhu zvamunofanirwa kunyora in your notes strictly. Then we are going to use different colors for illustrations. So let us look at this definition. Let us zero in on this definition. Production. What is production? Production is the provision. So hama dzangu, the word provision ringoreva kuti providing. Saka kana tiine a system kana kuti a process of providing, what are we providing? We are providing goods and services. Why are we providing these goods and services? To satisfy human needs and wants. Saka panapa ndoda kuti muve accustomed with the particular jargon which we are going to use in this business science, which we rather call commerce. There is a difference between what we learn in class, informal knowledge and formal education, and what is taught as marketplace banter, kana kuti zvatinongotaura in everyday life. So if you think of production in everyday life, you are certainly going to think or imagine an industry setup where you have different people, men and women, on an industrial belt. Maybe they are assembling a certain good. Then we have those guys who do the packaging. We have those who do the transporting. Vozoendesa kuma retail shops where the consumer is going to buy those goods and services. But kana tiri ku-commerce, production inotangira pakutoprovide the goods and services. Why are these goods and services provided? To satisfy human needs and wants. So before we go to our first subtopic, there's something we have to understand about the nature of human needs and wants. So let us put this down as a note. Our note is going to be human needs and wants are unlimited. Saka zvinoda vanhu, human needs and wants. Of course, we are going to differentiate kana kupa musiyano pakati pema needs nema wants. But ngatingoti needs and wants kurepresenta zvinhu zvinoda vanhu. Zvinhu zvinoda vanhu zviri unlimited. Human needs and wants are unlimited. Tikati munhu wese nganyore zvaanonyatsokuda. Everyone requires everything and leaving nothing which is left untouched. Saka this nature of human needs and wants much, it is going to form a problem. And to understand the problem, we have to also understand that resources, by resources we are referring to goods and services, are limited. Saka we have unlimited needs and wants. As these unlimited needs and wants, they are chasing limited goods and services. there comes in a problem. Advocate Tendai Biti usually says something which fascinates me. When he is trying to, or actually expanding upon what he assumes to be the problem in Zimbabwe's economics, he actually says, in Zimbabwe, the government is chasing too much goods with few money. That's actually practically the definition of inflation, which we are going to look at. But we have the state government wanting to spend more than they have. And saka the government inenge yakuoperate under what is referred to as a budget deficit. I think we are going to discuss this if our syllabus allows. Why am I giving an example of this? Example is there to save and to instruct kana kuti kukuratidzai the problem which arises kana tiine unlimited needs and wants, asi zvatinoshandisa zvacho kusatisfy the unlimited needs and wants are actually limited. So in economics now, that's where we begin to discuss what are called economic problems. We have scarcity, we have choice, and what is called opportunity cost. But since it is not part of commerce, we are not going to get much into that. Let us now look at goods and services. We want to break down the definition of production, understand the different components of the definition of production, so that we can understand intrinsically what production actually is. Saka panapa we are going to look at goods and services. What exactly about goods and services? Goods are tangible items. Examples would be desks, meat, and cars. So that is actually our first point. The main characteristic of goods ndeyekuti magoods zvinhu zvinobatika, zvinhu zvatinokwanisa kuona. So goods are tangible items. An example, desks, laptops, stationery. Then I also want you to add 2 examples panapa of your own. Goods, tangible items. That's the main characteristic of goods. So zvatinokwanisa kubata. Goods can be classified as the following. So when we look at goods, we have different classifications of goods. So maybe we can write it as a subtopic. Classifications of goods. What are these classifications of goods? Satikatarisa classifications of goods. Tirikuti goods can be classified as durable goods. And what do we mean by durable goods? Saka the first classification ema goods tinanonzi durable goods. And by durable goods, what are we referring to? These are goods which last for a long time. Saka, goods which last for a long time. What are the examples of these durable goods? Zvinhu zvinoti garei. Saka we can talk about cars, vehicles. We can talk about furniture. Tinogona kutaura infrastructure. Tinogona kutaura zvakare equipment. And of course, ndoda kuti muwedzere 2 examples of durable goods. What are the 2 examples of durable goods you can think about? The opposite of durable goods, it's obviously going to be non-durable goods. Saka it's actually in itself self-explanatory. Non-durable goods. So by non-durable goods, we are obviously referring to goods which do not last for a long time. But can I define? We better say goods that have a short lifespan. A short lifespan. I can actually think of pen yandakabata yandikunyora nayo. Then of course we have perishable goods, zvikafu zvinokasika kuora. We can talk of clothes, food, and also add 2 of your own examples of non-durable goods. Saka takatarisa durability of goods. Tikutarisa kuti this particular good yatinayo inogara for a long time here, kana kuti it's actually short-lived, kana kuti in a shorter lifespan. That's durability, which is a property, cannot classification of goods. Now we look at what are called consumer goods. Saka tine hama dzangu anonzi consumer goods. This is in itself self-explanatory. Nemhaka yei, it's self-explanatory pakuti who is the consumer? The consumer is the end user of a good. So we are going to write it down. The end user, munhu ari kushandisa that particular good. Saka pamunoenda kutuckshop muchinotenga chingwa, you are the consumer of that bread. Chingwa ichi chinenge chaita undergo different stages of production, which we are going to obviously discuss. You understand? So when we talk about consumer goods, what are they? These are finished goods which are ready for use by the end user. Finished goods which are ready for use by the end user. Then the other point which is also important, panapa, a consumer, this is the end user of goods and services. So you can consume a good. Tanotenga chingwa tikuchichika ne fanda edu, we are consuming that particular good. You can also consume a service. Like ndikukudzidzisai, you are learning from these lectures and lessons. You are consuming a service. So teaching is a service, healthcare, nursing, that's a service. You can consult a lawyer, you can consult an accountant, an advisor, you can consult a coach, you can consult a therapist. All those, they are services. So what then are going to be the examples of consumer goods? So when we talk about consumer goods, gatiti examples of consumer goods. What are these examples? My examples say my consumer goods. Think of a ballpoint pen. Pen yandukunyoresa. That's a consumer good because I bought it, I'm using it, I'm consuming it. Clothes, sembe zatakapfeka, consumer good. Food, consumer good. Furniture, mudzimba dzatinogara, consumer good. Add your own to consumer goods. So that is what we mean by consumer goods. Let us now talk about what appears to be an opposite, but not a direct opposite of these consumer goods. We talk of number 4, classification, which are capital goods. Capital goods. So what are these capital goods? These are goods which are used in the production process. Saka capital goods shekutanga, maybe we are going to write it later, but capital goods are goods used to produce other goods. Saka goods used in the production process kana kuti to produce other goods. Anditika before tanyora my examples zvakakosha kuziva kuti capital goods can be called producer goods. They are used by the producer, who of course is active in the production process. What are the examples? My examples in my capital goods are now. We can talk of my heavy duty goods like my tractors, my earth moving machines, and we have sewing machine as an example. Tine an assembly plant as an example, and accessory equipment as an example. Also add 2 of your own examples. So ma capital goods, ma goods atinoshandisa tinomashandisa papi pakuproducer amwe ma goods. Saka ma classifications of goods aya madzangu vamwe vanomadana vachiti types of goods. Saka it's important to note that sometimes you can come across question yakati types of goods. So how many types of goods do we have? Let us just write down a summary panel after everything is said and done. So types of goods. Kucommerce, of course, kana mchita economics, kana business studies, kana management studies, you are going to come across other types of goods. But what is necessary and material for us now, the types of goods we are concerned with are these. Tichatanga tatarisa kugara kunoita magoods acho, durability, durable goods, magoods anogara, typically for 3 years and more, ndokuti durable good. And we have examples of durable goods which are obvious, say motor, say imba, say equipment. But kana uchigona kuchengetedza phone yako ne laptop yako, those can be to you the consumer durable goods. And my goods are, we can have a durable good which is also a consumer good, like motor. It's durable inogara, but it's a consumer because irushandiswa an end user. Saka there is a fluidity to this. One good can be several types of goods. Those are two. But kana mchipa ma examples enyu musapa ma vague examples. For durable goods, ipaima examples 2 or 3 ezvinhu zviri obviously and evidently durable. Sekuti equipment, sekuti motor car, sekuti infrastructure, and it musapa ma examples are vague kana are debatable. Then the second type, which is an opposite of durable goods, that's non-durable goods. Then for our number 3, we have what are called consumer goods, goods used by the end user, and food, perishables. Give obvious examples. Then lastly, we have capital goods, goods used by the producer. And saka consumer goods, they are used by the buyer, kana kuti consumer, yet capital goods are used by the producer. That's why they can also be called producer goods. Now let us get to services, because in our definition, production is the provision of goods and services. Saka for goods tatarisa, the main characteristic of goods are tangible things which are used to satisfy human needs and wants. Zvinhu zvinobatika, zvinhu zvatinokwanisa kuona. We can interact with goods with our senses. What about services? Saka now we want to learn about services. Why that goods and services? Evidently zvakasiyana. deno zvanga zvakafanana, it would have been moot kuti titi goods and services. Now for services, services are intangible items and we are going to give examples. Saka the main characteristic, maybe ningatonyora panapa, main characteristic ndeyekuti chi intangible items. Saka kuri kuti question yawe yachivunza kuti what is a service, munenge makuti intangible items used to satisfy human needs and wants. Domanyorero amunenge makuita human needs and wants. So zvadai so much to understand the main characteristic of services. Let us give examples. What are the examples of services? Satambopa my examples, like the example you are actually consuming now, which is education. We can talk about entertainment. Pamunobhadhara Netflix, you are buying a service kuti muve entertained. We can talk about nursing service, kana kuti more broadly teta kungoti healthcare. We can talk about medical service, maybe it's under healthcare. So we can talk about a legal service. Just one pamunenge makusaina ma contracts, you really need a legal expertise. Kana muri into zvinhu zvakaita say, if you make enough money, you need a financial service from someone who understands financial literacy better than you. My accountants, you are going to need actuaries. If you are into risk management, you are going to need a lot of services. If you have a company, maybe you are going to employ the service of those directors which are non-executive directors. You need a service from them. If you start a business, and you might need a service from an accountant. Saka there are a lot of services. That's why in the chiti wedzera to enyu. Saka zvamunowedzera, if you can share in the comments, so that we make sure kuti amuwedzere zvinhu zvinenge zvisiri so much so relevant. What we now want to learn is more generic. Basic human needs are, saka takuda kuchitarisa needs and wants, or rather ngatitange tatarisa needs. So what are needs? Of course, in everyday life, the word needs and the word wants are used interchangeably. There's not much of a difference there. As kana tiri ku commerce, we are going to take note of a philosophical difference between these two words. So kana tichiti needs, by definition, tiri kuti needs are actually basic necessities for life. Saka needs are basic necessities for life. What do we mean by this? Basic human needs, examples are food, shelter, clothes, medical service, education, and water, which are necessary for survival. Saka these are basic necessities for life, kana kuti munogona kuti basic necessities for survival. Let us tone down this definition a little. Tiri kuti needs, they are actually items people cannot live without. Saka zvinhu zvinotodikwa mukurarama uku kuti vanhu vakwanise kurarama zvakanaka. You are going to see what we mean when we put down examples. So what are the examples of needs? We have education. In this modern day, education is actually a need. We have food. We have shelter. Pekugara, that's a need. Clothes. Healthcare, kana kuti medical service. then water. I want you to do the honors and add 2 of your own. So these are the basic necessities for life. You need these items in order to survive. You need food. How many days without eating food before a person dies? I do not know. You can do the research. You need water also. Actually, without food and water, a person cannot last more than 2 weeks, I guess. You need education so that you can earn a livelihood. You need clothes. You cannot be naked. You cannot be indecent. You need medical service. And if you do your research, you are going to take note. Mortality rate yakaredusa. Mortality rate yakadzikira. Kureva kuti life expectancy yekudhara, let us say in the 20th century, kunana 19 uko, it was actually very low. At some point, people could not even live past the age of 15 years. And generally speaking, cannot past the age of 25 years, generally speaking. If you read the introduction of Yuval Harari's book, Homo Deus, he makes a point of how medical interventions, medical services, healthcare has actually richly contributed to the life expectancy and infancy mortality rate. So life expectancy tukutora the general age where people usually get to, the statistical number. And when we talk about the infancy mortality rate, turikutaura pavana vanozvarwa say 100 vangani vanorarama past the age of 5 years. That's how we calculate infancy mortality rate. Saka by so doing, that define what needs are. Let us now look at wants. So kana tichitaura about wants, these are items people can live without. Hongu tinozvida zvinhu zvinototibatsira mukurarama, asi kana zvikabviswa, we can survive, we can live without. And we are going to see what we mean, but yet I list down examples. So examples here are going to be, my examples are now panapa: cars, entertainment, social media, you can live without it. Television, radio, home theaters, example, etc. So please add your 2 examples here. Zvinhu zvatinogona kugara tisina. These are items one can do without. So items people can live without, kana kuti items people can do without. That's what wants are. So I need you in commerce terms, zvakasiyana nekuti I want you. I need you means I cannot live without you. But I want you means I can do without you, I can live without you. But these are just applications from commerce.